Hello YouTube, this is the first video for the start of my YouTube channel, and it starts with a tool room slash toolbox tour. I'm a 47-year-old guy, married with 2 kids. One's 18, one's 3.5, and I have a stay-at-home wife. She doesn't work, and it's just me. So for a trade, I do heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And at home, my hobby, I like working on my cars. I have a 1999 Ford Explorer XLT I use for work, and I have a 2000 Honda Accord. It's used as well, and it's just a secondary, kind of like family car. But anyway, my vehicles aren't nice by any means. They're just, kept up service, like doing my own oil changes and brakes and some work. I'm geared to do a lot of work to my cars, and that's what I like to do, but I only get a very little bit of time. So like I said, most of my time is heat and air, and I do quite a bit of it. So anyway, so that's enough about me. I'm going to give you a tour of my tools, and they're kind of separated, and I kind of brought some in from the truck. Right now I have more gear, but I just wasn't going to bring all my gear in from my truck. For my heat and air, usually keep that stuff out in my truck, and keep my mechanic stuff inside for when I'm home. But anyway, so that being said, out in my truck that I don't have in here for the tour, I have refrigerant recovery equipment, yellow jacket, so I can recover refrigerants out of systems. I also have oxygen acetylene torches. I have refrigerants in my car. What else do we have out there? I have vacuum pumps. I did bring in my gauges, because my gauges and some of my refrigerant reading equipment is pretty cool. I wanted to show on my tour. So I did bring some stuff in from my truck. So I got my 2 tool bags that I use primarily. My tool belt, it's like my go-to when I go to any place. Service call, I have a bag that I go to that's got pretty much, most of the things that I could possibly use for a service call. And then I brought in some other stuff, the Milwaukee pack out stuff here, and some of these black cases from the truck, so you can see what I do with heat and air stuff. And then obviously on new construction, I do use some power tools. I'm really big on cobalt, obviously, as you can see. I'm very big on cobalt stuff, and I'll get into that, but primarily we'll be going over that stuff. So let me get up off my butt here, and so I'm going to kind of panorama. Like I said, the stuff down here, a lot of stuff down here is heat and air stuff, and this stuff's stuff that really, I guess, is a mix of stuff that stays inside the house, and this is some miscellaneous stuff, and this is like my auto stuff here. Here's my cobalt power tools. I have the pretty much almost the entire 20-volt line, almost everything, and I love it. It's a really good system. And then for my toolbox, for my auto tools, I have a double-decker DeWalt. Measures about 36, I think 36 wide. It's a top chest and a bottom. So we'll get into that, and we'll get into that stuff. But first, I'll start with the heating and air conditioning stuff. Just want to get a drink here real quick. Okay. So for my heating and air conditioning bags, bag number 1. I'm going to have some Sawzall blades and some drill bits up in front here. I got some random stuff in this pouch. I got a utility knife, a cobalt utility knife. And here, I got a hole saw bit that's dull as can be. And on the ground, roll of black tape. That's it. I don't have much in this bag. I call this my gas piping kind of tool bag. It's got some of my bigger tools for gas piping, and some other random stuff, WD-40, some thread cutting oil, because I do sometimes cut the black iron that I install. This is a box of spare screws and stuff. don't know if you can see that, but you know, just, well, I don't know. I'll open it, but it's just spare screws for my trade and stuff, you know, and spare junk. Let's see, roll of tape. You know, every HVAC guy's got duct tape in his tool bag. Metal strap. I got some O-rings. I got an O-ring cut here from Harbor Freight. Because sometimes some of the fittings have some of the O-rings. And I can just think of a bunch of things I would use O-rings on. In both heating and air and automotive and household. And so I got that kit. These kits from Harbor Freight are great. Let's see, I got some fire caulk. Got to use that. New construction. My caulking gun, just a simple cheap one. Nothing special there. Bucket of zip screws, 1/4 inch drive head. That's what we use in heating and air industry with sheet metal stuff. We use zip screws. So it's just a little 1/4 inch drive head. It shows it's a flat head, but we use a nut driver, 1/4 inch nut driver, and they're, you know, 1/4 inch long, nothing big. We got a pointed tip on so we can pierce sheet metal. Nylon strap for holding up duct and other stuff. And bag of screws. So on my sidewall here, I got an adjustable wrench next one. This is really my overflow stuff. Got a pair of needle nose cobalt. Sorry about that. Needle nose cobalt pliers in there. And what else we got in here? We got some cobalt slip joint pliers. Like I said, that's overflow. Hardly use it. There's a bit for. I'll show you. It's a pretty cool tool. I'm gonna pull it off the shelf here. Made by Hillmore. And just to give you a thing about Hillmore tools is they're supposed to be the snap-on, quote unquote, for my industry for heating and air, but really I found out it's just rebranded Irwin, a lot of this stuff, and it's TTI Tool Group, which is Milwaukee and stuff. So I do like their tools. Got a nice catchy logo and stuff, and they do have some nice heating and air tools, so you'll see my tool bag got most of it. This is a duct cutter. Use this with a drill, and what you do is you can pierce a hole in, you know, in the metal duct, and then you could use this to spin around with your drill, and it drills a perfect circle up to 12 inches. It's pretty cool. So instead of you having to cut it by hand with aviation snips all the way around, after you draw a circle around it with a Sharpie, you know, you can use this. It'll cut a perfect circle. And so these tools are pretty cool. Let's see. I got a big, and that's going to be a masonry bit, because when I do new construction, I got to bring condensate drains out for units, and you know, I got to do line sets out, and sometimes I got to go through concrete. So a big masonry bit in my bag there. I use that in my hammer drill, which I'll show you later. I got a very long, that's a 3/8 paddle bit, very long one. When I do new construction, I got to run that thermostat wire in the house down underneath the house or whatever. I got to go through the 2x4s in between the walls. That's usually what I use if I got to go through a lot of 2x4 and flooring material. Got a roll of paper towels, the blue ones, like the auto ones. Like I said, you cut gas pipe, you thread with oil. You need them. I got a 6-way in here. You never know when you need some power. You know, a new construction site. You know, you got all these guys and, you know, contractors doing work and shit. So you need a plug. I bring my own 6-ways and stuff. I got several pipe wrenches. That's Harbor Freight Pittsburgh. You know, there's a lot of things that Harbor Freight has, man. That's great. That'll last for years. And, you know, it's a tool truck warranty. You keep your receipt. You go in, you got a problem with it, and you know, lifetime warranty, a lot of stuff. But I haven't even had to go in and exchange hardly any of this stuff, because, you know, it's built pretty good. Now, is it the best pipe wrenches in the world? Do they have a little play in them? Of course they do. But you know what? You could even have the best pipe wrench in the world with absolutely little play, and you're dealing with a round pipe. So you're going to have to set this tongue just right to grab on it. So it doesn't matter really what, but I mean, as far as the make of it, you know, like I said, the Harbor Freight ones are great. They're great price, and they will just sit there and do just like the rigid or the best name brand ones. So this is a regular steel one. It's pretty heavy, so I got one of those. That's an 18-inch, I believe, and I got one in aluminum, so it's lighter. And again, I don't know if that's actually I got it from Harbor Freight. I thought I did. I think it's a Harbor Freight one. It doesn't say Pittsburgh on it. Actually, it might not be because it says USA on it. So, but this aluminum pipe wrench is awesome. It's the same size as the other one. And then I've got a couple other Pittsburgh, and yeah, they're both Pittsburghs. So I got a little one and a next size up one for smaller pipe, you know, like 1/2 inch, 3/8, whatever, 3/4. Once I get to 3/4, I like using my big ones. And then I got, again, I like Irwin tools. I know some Irwins over there in China, or it could be Taiwan or whatever, but I like the Irwin tools. This is kind of like, you know, a pipe wrench too, but it's like one of these quick slide ones or whatever. The springs wore out in here, so sometimes it's a pain to use these, but sometimes these are great, and they're really light. So, you know, I'll take them along with me, and sometimes they're in a situation where they're great, sometimes they're a pain. So you just bring them along, and if they work, they work. They don't. PVC cement, because I deal with PVC in my industry. Pipe dope, so I can seal the threads in my gas pipe. Let's see, you know what that is? That's a black iron pipe cutter right there. And I've got a pipe threader kit, which will come across here in a little while. So, side pockets, I got an extra pair. It's my overflow pair of aviation snips there. I think those are Stanley Fat Maxes. They're Fat Maxes, and I think those were Stanley. But they've been good to me, you know what I mean? They still cut good, but I've got newer pairs, so they just are in the overflow. I got a flaring tool here, Lennox. I like Lennox products, they're built real good. So I got, you know, Lennox flare tool. Yep, there it is. For my industry, Lennox tools, I like them. They're built really good. Good quality tool. So I also have this square here when I'm doing new construction. I can take that ruler off this thing here, and I use that to cut my ductwork in the floor or whatever, measure out for my boots and stuff. And then I got some markers, some extra markers in there, but I think that's it. So that's it for this tool bag. Oh, you know what, side pouch, I got one of those CO2 guns for blowing out that 3/4 PVC for condensate lines, because sometimes they get clogged. So I've got one of those. The cartridges, I need to get some more, they're expensive. And then I got a pack of razor blades in here, because we use a hell of a lot of razor blades in my industry. So now just give me a moment, I'm going to pack all this back real quick, because again, this is my work tool bag, and I brought this in for a tool tour, and I want it to be ready to go back out to the truck. So I'm going to put all my crap back in here real quick. And if I had some Jeopardy music, I'd be humming that for you. I don't. My bad. So we're just going neatly, because I am a neat freak, but I'm going to try and do this quickly. I'm putting this stuff back in here as quick as I can. Okay. So that's kind of like my gas pipe, or when I'm doing new construction. I don't really go to that bag that much. This is the bag that I will use more often. And these tool bags I got from Husky as a set from Home Depot. There was that one and this one. Let me take note of that real quick. So, and it's the one that's got rollers and this pull-up handle on the back here. I've been using it for like 4 or 5 years. It's survived, and you know, it's done good for me. So I will give that. I don't really have any other Husky products. I don't really like the Home Depot brand. But this tool bag has been the design kind of I wanted, and it's done good for me. So in the front pouch here, I carry all my tubing cutters, and I'm going to lay that out. I've got several. So mostly I've got these two that are brass craft. I've got 2 Lennox. These are great because they're quick release. You just press this button and it quick releases, and you can set it up really heavy duty. Those are good copper or pipe cutters. And then I have the smaller version, and these are nice and small in case I need, you know, a tight place to cut copper. And that's a fixed Milwaukee 1/2 inch cutter. Somebody gave that to me. And then this is made by Superior Tool. It's just another little set of cutters. So I've got lots of cutters, tubing cutters. You got to have that. You know, you're cutting copper line set in my industry. You're cutting copper tubing on repairs sometimes. You're cutting stuff out and brazing stuff in. I got a mirror to check, you know, underside of, you know, where I braze. That comes in handy. I have an overflow, and this is really cool. I don't know if you can read it on the thing anymore. Let me see if I can look at it first. No, it's totally worn off, but this was a Nest screwdriver. It comes with Nest thermostats, the Gen 3s. It's got the little thermostat flat head up on the top here, and then it's actually a pull out where you got the Phillips, you know, to put the screws in to the wall on the other side, but I never used it for that. I only used it for the little flathead for doing the terminals on the thermostats, and it feels good. The only thing I like about it, it drops out of your hand sometimes. It's got a nice weight to it, you know, but when you're putting it up, sometimes you can fumble it because of that oval shape, but they were on the right track. You know, I liked it for a while, the balance and the way it felt, but you know, I fumble it sometimes, and you'll see what I've gone to next. But in this pouch here, nut drivers, and these are the Malco flip drivers. So I've got a medium long, and I've got a short one about, hold on, I got one over here, I think. So I'll show you what all three of them look like. There's all three, and these are flip nut drivers. They're really cool. So the red side's a 1/4 inch, and the yellow side is 5/16. So you got a 1/4 inch drive and 5/16, and that's usually, both sizes are like, it seems like 100% of my industry are the bolts on the outside, condenser units and the air handlers. But anyway, you can flip the drive, so this way you don't have to bring 2 chucks. You got 1 chuck that could do both sizes, and there's a magnet right there that holds the screw in. You know, if you're putting them back in, you know, it holds the nut in so that you can thread in and go or whatever. So really I like that, and it, you know, with being able to take it off too, like so, you can clean that magnet and get any gunk off that gets in there. If you didn't have a flip chuck for that, then you'd have to get in there with a pick to clean out the magnet, you know, that the crap that it collects over time. But I really like that. Again, it's made by Malco, and you can get them at Ferguson. If some of you guys want to have them, you don't do heat and air, but you know that this thing appeals to you or whatever. Let me see if I can get a better shot. Hang on, I'm trying to get a good shot for you guys. There we go. 1/4, 5/16. And it's made by Malco. Sorry, I'm just trying to get a good shot. There we go. Sorry, I'm just not a surgeon for this, but anyway, it says Malco. Get them at Ferguson. There's Fergusons everywhere. Ferguson Heat and Air, Ferguson Plumbing. They'll have these nut drivers, should have them in all the sizes, but it's only that I've seen 1/4 and 5/16. So if you're thinking that there was any other sizes, they don't have those, because it's mainly for the bolt sizes, again, in my industry. So okay, so moving on. So we got these pouches here. Is there anything in these side pouches? Let's see. Yep, over here I've got a digital cobalt digital tape measure, so I can turn the power on, and let's see, let's turn it on, and then, you know, I can get measurements, you know, with a laser beam, you know, let's see, you know what I mean, and then it'll tell me how far it is. It's pretty cool, and it goes up to, I think, 50 feet. That's where it says KB, the part number, KB 50FT, I guess that's the part number, but it goes to 50 feet. So anyway, so I have that, and then I just have a standard 25-foot tape measuring side. That's my side pocket. I've got to have tape measure. You know, we do some, I don't do really any carpentry, but you know, sometimes we got to cut stuff, and that comes up later. But anyway, inside my tool bag here, I got zip ties. Never can have enough of those. I got a box of Milwaukee. I'm not gonna open up. They're masonry drill bits, because sometimes I gotta go again when I go through concrete and I gotta put a cover on. I gotta do an anchor kit, which is that plastic insert and then the bolt. So, but I drill out with one of these masonry bits, and I've had them for a while. These have been really good. These Milwaukee masonry bits in that pack. And they've lasted. They've haven't gone dull on me. They still cut good. So if you're looking for good masonry bits for anchors and stuff, Milwaukee's got some good ones. In that same pouch here, I have a Cobalt flathead screwdriver, and believe it or not, even though it's not a demolition at all, but I pound the heck out of this. The only purpose for this is I pound the heck out of it with my hammer. Okay, onto metal to start a hole in metal so I can get my aviation snips in to cut a circle out when I'm doing duct work. So, again, I treat this like a demolition screwdriver almost, and I've been doing it for like 3 years, okay? And it's still, even the tip, you know what I mean? And that's where, I'm using hammering the tip. So, but anyway, kudos to you. That's why, again, when I go through this tool thing, I like Cobalt tools, you know what I mean? If you use them for the way they're intended, although albeit this one wasn't, but that's my point. It's still, quality tool. It still holds up. But I really think they have quality tools. So, and I've got right here their set of extension wrenches, or I'm sorry, adjustable wrenches with comfort grips. So I have all three. I guess it's a 6, 8, and a 10. I use those for gas piping, and a little bit for my heat and air, but I don't really, I only need one adjustable wrench in my pouch for when I'm doing work on condensers outside, and I'll show you that in my tool pouch. But I keep these extra 3 in here for gas piping, because you do use adjustable wrenches in a lot of the fittings on gas piping. So since I use those on both platforms, sometimes I need extra change of blower motors and air handlers or whatever, so I keep those wrenches in this pouch. As far as hand tools in here, okay, hammer, and this is a Stanley hammer. I think I found this, and it's been a good hammer. And although Stanley does make a lot of cheap products, I know their upper end's DeWalt, but for this being just a Stanley, it's an all metal neck hammer, you know what I mean? So there's no seam in it. So it's actually a really quality hammer. This thing has really been a good hammer. It's got a nice comfort handle on it, so I kept it. I got some Cobalt hand saws here. This one's almost like a hacksaw, and this one right here is like a drywall saw. Well, not like, but is. It's actually a drywall saw, but I'll peel it back a little bit. You can see it's got a big, kind of gnarly saw blade on it. But anyway, I use them for different purposes. Sometimes I got to cut the copper, and if I'm in a tight area, I can't use the cutters. I got the little hacksaw blade on that, cuts through the copper really good. And I got interchangeable blades for that. And then I got the drywall saw in case if I got to cut some drywall, because sometimes I do. So good pair of saws there. This is a specialty tool for my industry. This is a fan blower removal tool. Sometimes that blower motor shaft gets really finicky inside the squirrel cage, or where the circle of metal that the blades are on that generates the air. So anyway, some people hit that shit with a hammer, and what they do is they mushroom the hell out of the damn metal shaft that goes through that fan circle there, and because it mushrooms out, you'll never get that metal shaft through that damn hole. So use a puller. Okay, the right way to do it is, especially when you got an old rusty one that's been there for years, you take the motor shaft, you sand it down first to sand all the rust off it, sand it real good. Use some penetrating oil, you spray that, let it sit for a few minutes, sand it one more time again, then put the gear puller on, then that shit should come out great. Never, ever, ever, ever use a hammer on a fan motor shaft or on a condenser or any kind of motor shaft in heating and air. Don't ever use a hammer on a motor shaft. Never. Use a puller. And be smart about it, you know what I mean? Use penetrating oil, sandpaper, stuff like that. So these are tongs. These grab sheet metal, you know what I mean? and make a 90-degree bend or whatever, and they got little markers on the side so you can reference each side that you got a good square grab on it. So, but anyway, these grab a sheet of metal and bend it, and these put little grooves in the metal. Okay, these will grab the end like of a round duck and kind of put little crinkles in it, like little crinkles. And the reason why we do that is so it shrinks one side so we could slide one pipe into another. So we will crinkle one end so it makes the round part a little bit smaller. So an 8 round piece of metal will fit inside of another 8 round piece of metal because the one's been crimped. So it kind of like, you could slide one into the other. It makes it shrink a little bit. So, just, regular 10, 12-inch torpedo level. And PVC cutters, ratcheting type. If you ever get PVC cutters, like the ratcheting type, these I found there's really nothing special, but they work great, so I've kept them. And I just hand sharpen the blade. These are freaking great. These grab zip ties. Okay, it's a tool to grab zip ties and make them tight. So you feed the zip tie through the hole through there, right there. You feed the zip tie up, right, and you just clip it, you squeeze the handle and it makes it real tight, and then you use this to trim it off. There's a blade in there. These are great for tying zip ties, doing ductwork. Great tool. Well, let's see. I've got a 1/4 inch. This is like an impact extension, and it's really long, and I like that. You can see how long it's, like 12 inches, maybe 14. It's a long extension. Sometimes you need an extension in my business. That's why I've got those 3 nut drivers the size you've seen. But that's great if you ever need an extension to get a hard reach, or if you got a long drill with a paddle to do. This will give you another 12 inches. Great. Let's see. These right here are swedge bits, and I'm going to show you what these are as soon as I can open them. Hold on one second. So, swedge bits are, you put them in your drill, okay? And what it does is, for the copper tubing, it expands it. When you drill it in there, it kind of expands the copper. And if you're careful and do a good job, you'll expand it without ripping it, so that one copper tube can fit in another. So when you're running copper, you can fit one inside another, put a weld on it, and it's in good. Instead of doing a butt-to-butt fit, if you try to butt-to-butt fit copper pipe and put a weld on it, it's going to be weak as can be. You want to slide the copper into another piece of copper a good inch, and then weld around the perimeter of the edge, give a good, working seal. But this will actually, like I said, swedge copper out, and I've got a number of sizes. It'll do small all the way up to, I think this does 1/4 all the way up to 7/8 copper. So really good. It's $100 for these, somewhere around in there. But a good permanent swedger. The handheld tool special swedgers are like $200 and $300, and I've used these for years. They do just as good, no problem. So I'm not going to get the $300 swedger. This is a Lennox pouch. It actually at one point was a cell phone charger, but I use it to carry my bits. Open this up. I gotta be careful not to spill it all out. But I use it to carry all my insert bits. You know what I mean? Like for your nut drivers or whatever. So those are extra bits in that case. Okay. And Pittsburgh, that's a Harbor Freight magnet tray. But hey, again, Harbor Freight is great for so many things. And something as simple as a metal tray, this has lasted me for a few years and still keeps performing. So thank you, Harbor Freight. Let's see. I got some corner snips from Lennox. And what these will do is cut through sheet metal and make a corner. In case you got a corner fold or whatever, it'll cut out a perfect corner out of the sheet metal. So that's what they do. And I've got a lot of people have these on YouTube. And trade. These are automatic wire strippers, self-explanatory. They're automatic. You stick the wire in and she uses it for you. I don't really use them much. I'll show you what I do use in a minute. And then I've got, last but not least here, I'm going to move my tool bag back because I want to show you. I've got all 3 aviation snips. I got straights, lefts, and rights, okay? Now, a lot of people in my industry just want to use reds, right, okay? But see, the problem with that is if you're cutting and you're cutting one way, if you're cutting one way with the reds, for example, if the scrap is going to the left of the blade, then cool, no problem. But if you're cutting to where the scrap's going to the right side of the blade, it's a problem. So that's why you use the greens, so that the scrap can go that way on the low side of the blade, and it cuts just better. So, and then straight, obviously, you can go either direction with straight. So, but I have all 3. The point is if you're going to do sheet metal work, you should have all 3. So that's that of my tool bag. And I'll show you my service belt in a minute, as soon as I load all this stuff back up in here. I haven't even gotten to my toolbox yet. It's 30 minutes. Holy crap. It's a lot, guys. It's a lot. I have to make it a 2-parter. Hope not. I'm just going to keep going until my camera decides to stop. Try and do it quickly. Okay, so here's my tool belt. On my tool belt, I have my Cobalt 24 volt impact. This thing is nothing short of awesome. Okay, I've used this for 3 years. I've got the rubber overmold taped in the back. I've dropped it off the roof of like 3 or 4 houses.